Thank you for coming in. Gotta do this again. The thing froze. Welcome, welcome. So we're gonna do this again. Try this again. It froze on me, so give me just a moment to get it right. Mm. Why this thing not acting right? Okay, we're gonna try this again. Sometimes this thing be acting kind of funny. Can't have this thing acting all funky. Could be experiencing some real trouble, so just to explain. Getting everything together. Can't figure out why this thing is acting all funny, Tom. Dashboard is not acting right. Okay, got it now. Okay, so we're live. What's happening? How you doing? What's happening? How you doing? How you doing? What's happening? How you doing? What's going on? How y'all doing? How you feeling? What's going on? We got a question. See what we got going on. We are live today, so we're just gonna see what's up. Talking about the game tonight. Just going from everything. So I'm trying to make sense of this stuff. This stuff is like it's kind of crazy. What's going on? How you doing? Let's see if I can get this thing right. What's happening? How you doing? What's up? What's up? What's up? Keep talking. Okay. We are good now. Just coming back to the picture. What's happening with everybody? How everybody doing? How everybody doing? How everybody doing? Hope everybody doing good. Anyway, I'm trying to get some stuff organized here. Stuff been acting kind of crazy. I got it on now. So anyway, had to do some technical work behind the scenes. But anyway, the question is simple. Do you think Shea Cross Alexander, if he wins the chip, does it make him an all-time great? Because remember, he's regular season MVP, Western Conference MVP, you know. And I'm just curious about where people stand with Shea. So that's a good question I got too. Got and then brainstorm an idea that I'm going to be working on about him and his impact. Um, when I think about Jokic and Giannis. So it's going to be interesting how it all plays itself out. But anyway, yeah, let's talk. So what's going on? Where people coming from? We got a few people in here tonight. Good to see you. Thinking I'll be on for like an hour today. Okay, keep on hitting the likes and what have you. Let's talk. If you want to have conversation, I am very much alive today. See what's going on. I'll be here for a while. Hope everybody's having a good day. Middle of the week, almost near the end of the week. We are in June. It's crazy how the weather can be. The birds are singing. It feels nice. So, hope everybody doing good. So we're just up here talking right now. I know it's kind of like early though. Got some ideas though. I think I gotta do that one. That gave me an idea. Jot down some real quick. Shay Alexander. See what we got. I have to figure out this format because things done changed. Hmm. Anyway, it's pretty low key today. I don't know if I'm gonna get a lot of situation. I might cut this into like a half hour unless people come in. Going to see what we're working with. It's pretty quiet so far. But anyway, yeah, good question about Shade Christ Alexander because Giannis and Jokic already being considered great. So it's gonna be interesting. So taking all this stuff in consideration. Just sitting around here, just in thought. But everybody kind of went quiet. I will give it about. I'll give it about 15 more minutes. No one came back, so. Hmm. Yeah, we're just kind of waiting and seeing what goes on. It's a pretty quiet day so far, so. Some days it's busier than others. But anyway, I want to tell people that I'm going to come back on live, but be prepared because I'm. So it just happens that way. We shall see. Hmm. So there's a handful of people coming through. But anyway, like I said, now if you don't catch my live stream, you can catch it on the rebroadcast. I do have like other podcasts, so look out for them, different forms. Hey, what's happening? How you doing? I had just accidentally hit the wrong button, and here you come in. Thank you, thank you. I was getting kind of reluctant that I was about to take what I call a pre-recorded live stream, where it's just me talking to the screen, and then I have to fill in the gaps with what I was starting the topic with. So, thank you for coming. What's on your mind today? And I know you got some questions, so feel free to ask. You got time today? Give me a one if you got time today, and also feel free. Nothing is really going on today, though, as far as the conversation. Okay, so what's on your mind today? That's just a basketball topic. I can talk about whatever. I was gonna bring up about the R. Kelly thing that I heard last night about they talking about someone was going in with his safety, but I didn't. So no, I was thinking about the BET Awards, but I didn't touch that. So but anyway, what's on your mind though? Let me know. There's a lot of ways we can go with this today. As you can tell, sometimes there's different days when people come and they don't come. So some days is more, some days is less. There's no rhyme or reason. But that I just, you know, talk about different things. And so let's see what we're working with. So I'm just looking forward to the conversation. Because if you'd like to have, feel free. Looking forward to it today. Hmm. I just gotta just hit me like a basketball question that I'm gonna have to take part that I will put in for a future broadcast. Okay, well, let me know you're out here. Let's talk. I am waiting. If you were still around, let me know. If I want to say something, feel free. If I sense that anyone is talking, if not, I'll have to cut this thing by like 12 minutes because I want to make sure that we're getting conversation. It's nice and live today. Mm-hmm. No, no. Because I see people that are in their 70s, 80s, and 90s going back in their high school diplomas. Because now more than ever, there's like this sense that it's better late than never, and depends on what situations are. And we don't have structure like we once did. You know, if you were the librarian on the house on the hill, the dog and the two-car garage and two kids, that day is gone. So people don't get entrapped to one job. They don't get entrapped to just doing one way of doing things. So it's a different day and time. It's not like how it once was. So that's why I see men and women and people backgrounds just getting inspired, you know. Because you don't go to school a day and pay off all your debts and then retire. Most people, in case you don't know, the average age that when a man really gets financially well to do is usually about in his late 50s. That's the truth. Now, did you just hear what I said? Did you ever watch that movie Pursuit of Happiness? Will Smith, the black guy that was the broker? The one that was Will Smith and Jaden, they were portraying the broker in the movie Pursuit of Happiness. You ever seen that movie? Okay, well, you should check it out. He was about 58, 59, and he bought that red Testarossa Ferrari for Michael Jordan. He most men get, and what I'm saying is that there is no time to, when you're so, things happen in life. Sometimes you have uh relationships, sometimes you have different situations. There's no such thing, because if you hit and it's your calling, you know, it's not too late. Let me ask you something. Do you still learn something new every day? So if you still learning something new every day, it's not too late. It's not too late. You know. Obviously, there's certain things that you ain't gonna do that you did at another day and time, but no, no. Tell you like this: if you stop learning, you may as well go ahead and bury yourself. Especially now with all this technology that we got to embrace, and AIs and Eyes and all the other eyes, you got too much that's going on to mental stimulation. So there was a time you could have kind of like, you know, if you go anywhere from probably about the 40s till about the early 90s, yeah. Okay. Don't be gone too long though, cause okay, because you're the only person I got on here right now. So, and I don't want to have a lot of downtime because we just don't really have a lot going on today. But mm-hmm. See something. Mm. We shall see. Mm. Mm. What's up, Jay Will? Thank you for coming on. Thank you. That's exactly what I needed. Well, I got so you watch my live video. Do you still keep up? Do you still follow my videos? Be honest now. Give me a one if you do, give me a two if you don't. And I'll tell you why I asked this question. So keep it honest with me. I know you're good with coming on the live stream, and I know that you donate to the app, to the money app thing. But do you, if you still watch my my regular videos, give me a one if you do, and then give me a two if you don't. And I'll tell you why. How I will answer the question you just asked. I do think it's a good question, and I'll help you with the answer. I'll help you with it. Just give me a one or a two. Yep. So let me tell you why. Yeah. Okay. Well, then. So my plan is, I got a video I'm gonna work on after I probably finish this up. He will be in the same boat basically as Giannis and Jokic. Except he'll have only one Finals MVP, but he'll have a Finals. He only have one regular season MVP. But when you put in Western Conference and the scoring title, is he in the same class as those two? And going forward, does he belong in the same when? Because those guys are considered some all-time greats. They're all would be top 25, 30. Yeah. Jokic got a chance to be in the teens. Giannis got a chance to be in the lower teens, high 20s. Shay. So I think it's a good question. And that's why I'm asking it. Well, he was only talking about Wilt's escapades, which I said in the video was if he said it took away from Wilt's basketball legacy, I kind of think it does because all those exploits with women, people will look at him as a freak, and then they'll kind of think that he didn't really spend as much time preparing for the Celtics and Russell and all that. And so sometimes those kind of things, like there was so much sideshow. But I don't think Shaq was hating on him in terms of his athleticism. He's already deferred, gave him up to him as a dominant player. Oh yeah, well, yeah, well, okay. That's what I meant. Well, this thing with Shay is why it got me to brainstorm a question that I'm gonna do. I'm gonna do a video after I finish here. If he wins, yes. If he don't win, then no. But if he wins, because when you think about what he's accomplished this year, he'd be hard pressed. Much as I love Gary Payton, yeah, it is incredible his run. I mean, he's like Allen Iverson, but with percentages that are actually on the plus side. Even AI gave it up to him. He fills up a stat sheet. So I'm just working on a question that I'm going to ask about it. He's also very polarizing. He's more polarizing than Giannis and Jokic. It baffles my mind because he's a guard and they're bigs, and yet for whatever reason, people just don't really. He just doesn't. It's interesting the kind of reaction he gets. I'm tripping because I don't get it. I mean, he's like Iverson and Derrick Rose, but with good percentages, and he's healthy and he's motivated and he's leading his team. I'm like, I mean, I know it's OKC. He isn't. No. Now what happened was is that they did an upgrade on my phone, and thank you. And so they asked about some component, and it does look great. I didn't even really think about it until I did a video today. It does. It looked like they just add up on the camera. It's all connected. So I don't know. They offered me something like inside of the within the concept, and it just I don't know. I'm gonna say it like this in English. I work in high techery. I ain't the most high tech person, but I work in it. So that's all. But thank you though. And, when people contribute to the show, to the work I put into it, that's how I like to put it back. So I take pride in this sort of thing. And so thank you. But yeah, I mean, I'm glad to hear that though. So hopefully we'll be keep getting good shows and everything will be fresh. But yeah, he's a very unique situation. Okay, welcome back. Thank you for coming back. You know, she's a very unique character. All right. I came on a little bit later today. I'll be on a little bit early tomorrow. But I did want to keep my streak alive of coming on. I'll be on. I disagree with him because if they gotta go 7 games with Shaq, they're not beating them. So I have to disagree with him on that. Um, in 2001 was their ultimate where they only lost one in the postseason. So I don't know what Harper talking about there. You gotta go 7 games, and Shaq pushes you to 7. You're not winning. You're not winning. Not when he was in his peak in his prime. Mm-mm. He's the only player that I would say that if Jordan had to go at a peak in his prime, I don't think they beat him. He tripping. Not in that era, he couldn't. The reason why, yeah, well, reason why I disagree with what he's saying is because when they Orlando, he still was scoring 28 against them, but that's because Orlando's styling. But you got a young Kobe coming up. You had the sectors coming up with Fields, the system. I don't think so. I don't think so. I don't think so. And Shaq was just unstoppable in that window. So now, if you tell me Jordan and Shaq cancel each other out, and it comes to Kobe and Pippen, then that's a different story. But it depends on what the Lakers got to come out to, again. But I think he's reaching with that one though. When you give Shaq the system and the right situation, he about there was unstoppable as they come. And again, in 2001, he be well. It depends again. Oh yeah, I believe in it all the way. Um, the triangle worked better with Shaq and Kobe. Jordan and Pippen executed, but again, remember something. It was Ryman who took 2 games against Seattle, but Seattle never had a Shaquille O'Neal. So imagine Gary Payton has that. You know. Well, you're welcome anytime. I got no problem with that. I believe in good positive mental attitude, feng shui, and I believe in talking to the soul because I discuss a lot of topics. As a matter of fact, if you watch my videos, uh, I did a video about introverts and extroverts. I got comments on it. So my videos be all over the place about life. They ain't just geared to music and entertainment. As a matter of fact, most of the stuff you see in entertainment and sports now is mental. Because a lot of people be acting. And you see a lot of the behaviors that used to be compartmentalized and be hidden. So, but I talk about a lot of different topics. And nothing is really off limits as long as we're talking about an adult manner and we're not disrespecting nobody. I don't have no off limits here. So we cover a wide range, you know. I do believe in being a mentalist because I like to talk about those sort of topics. So, but I also believe in keeping your spirits up. Life is, you got enough to deal with out in these streets and this world. The craziness that I see. But a lot of this stuff is because people be bringing unnecessary. So, but anyway, we like to keep it good and clean. So, but anyway, yeah. But yeah, J Will, reason why I say the Lakers would win is because Rodman won that series against Seattle. So, probably was because his size, his strength, his agility. You gotta remember when he came into the league, D Wade was older, Kobe was older. And then when the Steph Curry thing flourished and happened, he was kind of a role player. So when Curry started to peak and prime and harden, but LeBron, because LeBron was coming at you certain speed, but then he was getting others involved in the way he played, it was kind of hard probably for him. No, I don't. I listen. LeBron, especially in Miami Heat era, the second Cleveland run era. If you're during D Rose's peak and prime, and let's say we're going from like what, give it to me, 2009 to about 2015, I could see that. I could see that because he was in the East and he had to go through LeBron. So I see that. I mean, who else in the East was a threat? Because Pierce and those guys were older. Rondo was not an overall force like that. Who else you got? Dwight Howard was a center. Melo was getting older. Who else you got? So, you know, they're obsessed with 2018, what, Golden State? Or LeBron on Cleveland? I don't get your statement. Oh, well, Shaq's window was, if I go from what, 99 to about 2004, especially the 2002, I mean, when he was on it, oh, but LeBron ain't seeing that dominance of Shaq, so don't. He had a great run in he was what I call a guy who could, and he was beneficial because when he was dominant, he either won or he came in second for MVP and titles. His was a different hit than Shaq's was. They didn't give it to Shaq. They could have, but Shaq was tearing that behind up when it counted the most. I'm not LeBron's peak ain't touching Shaq's peak, so let's get this out the way right now. Shaq was gonna win chips. If Shaq had as many runs as LeBron did, he have about 6, 7 chips. There's the difference right there. Because his track record spoke for it. And he's the last man to three-peat. And LeBron had way more opportunities to put any kind of doubts out of people's minds, and he ain't do it. So there's no comparison there for me. And I seen them both. I don't really look at LeBron 2018 and get all excited. Mm. Start Moses, bench Duncan, and cut Hakeem. Because Moses Malone was nothing nice. And he proved it everywhere he went. And Elijah one got more moves, and we can debate, impact, etc. But Moses Malone was the truth, y'all. I'm alone. He was the truth. I mean, he taught Elijah on a lot of his stuff. So, I mean, I got to. The man wasn't those league MVPs when it was tough. I gotta cut a king. I ain't gonna cut no Tim Duncan. You crazy? Cut no Duncan. Cause Duncan is about 10 seconds from having a perfect record in NBA Finals. Just so you know. And people don't talk about the game 7 that the Spurs did lose. He still was putting up crazy numbers. You know. I am not cutting Tim Duncan. Mm-mm. Elijah had better moves than both of those guys, but I think those other guys, I gotta play them. I gotta play them. I gotta. And I hold Duncan in high regard. Peak is one thing, but results is another. And you're gonna tell me when Moses Malone was a 3-time finalist who lost with Houston in the finals, the Rockets lost to Boston in one final. Then he took the 4-4-4 with the Sixers. You're going to tell me he was a finals MVP. And you're going to tell me, yeah, Moses Malone going to start. Duncan had a better, again, peaks is when you dominate what I go unequivocally. And I just looked at Moses better and I looked at Duncan better. That's all. You're asking me. I come to. Excuse me. That's how I come to it. Now, that doesn't mean I don't like Olajuwon a lot. I never said he wasn't a top 15, 20 grade, but against, I go with those guys, especially if I start Moses, because Duncan's got to stay in. I'm not cutting Tim Duncan. And I'm not going to cut Moses Malone. Hmm. All right, now feel free to ask some questions now. Come on now. I'll see anybody coming through up, Don't get quiet now. All right. That's for his family. That's got to do with him. That's on his estate. Now, thing about with that is life is when um, that's a good chunk. Um, it, different things happen in your life, so it all depends on. Sometimes in life it take a little while. Some people are quick progressive. Some people it takes a lifetime, pretty much. But it's also luck of the draw. Sometimes it's just the fortunes where things are. Sometimes it ain't your call. Sometimes it is your call. You gotta go through certain things for it to make sense. That's all. You know. I mean, technology plays a big part with life. There's things that I would not do that I do now, and looking at the world completely different. And technology's played a big part because I didn't have the kind of technology and resources that and it is a different world in that regard. Again, it goes back to what I said earlier. You see a librarian 30 years ago completely different than you see somebody who works at a library today, because that's not no guarantee. Paper is going out of style, out of print. So people got Kindles and all that for they so they don't have to even go do some of the stuff they used to do. So if I can explain that logic, it's already different. So the way we do and operate is different. So why you come up with something that you create, you don't have to do what people used to do. Yeah, if you have ambition and drive, you can definitely make stuff happen. 44 is kind of low, but then again, it's Bill Walton. And the reason why I say that is because a lot of times, shoot, more people probably be more quicker to put money on that Boston Celtic ring in '86 than they would for that Blazer one, even though he was a better player in Portland. But, you know, yeah, but again, they didn't get a lot of fanfare. And people, unless they die hard historians, don't care about that. What's happening? What's happening? Thank you for coming through. I saw that. He was an outside shooter. He sees that you can beat people in different ways. I think the problem is that most of these cats can't shoot. He probably would love it because he could shoot. These cats, it's kind of like being part of the home run era. But if you strike out 8 times out of 10 and you can't even bat your body weight, it makes people who are purists cringe because, again, it's the embarrassment. But again, you know, it takes a lot of athleticism to be able to do what to do it. It's a double-edged sword, but that's what the league wanted anyway. So, and besides, it's something that would fit him. He would thrive. He would thrive in this era. Thank you, Tom, for coming through. Appreciate you. So I'm not surprised. Bird is a contrarian though, so you never know what he gonna say. Oh, easily, easily. That's not up for discussion. Easily. Now, granted, he's not the best pure. He can't do what Jokic does as far as like that triple double that Jokic does with that. He wouldn't do that. But as far as everything else, he would smash him. First of all, that team that with that front court size of or Gordon and Porter, they'd be a lot better. I told you when he had Mikhail clothesline Rambus that changed that series, he'd get in there behind. That's the difference. Oh yeah, easily. Angel Reese can play basketball, but she's pretty much become kind of like what I call a uh, um she's pretty much become what I consider like a good workable player. So I think you asked me this already, but it's gonna be Lucille Ball. Well, I don't really spend a lot of time listening to Jamel Hill, but I will do a video about that since you brought that to my attention. I don't really. Jamel is always trying to get some clicks and some views. She got to be out her natural mind to say that. You know, not quite. But I will do a video about that though. Now that you brought it to my attention, I don't look at. I'd say that about Serena before I'd say that about. And I would even say that about Serena got more of a liking to that. You know. Angel Reese has had the defender. Angel Reese is more like AI. Angel Reese is more like a female version of Allen Iverson, style wise, except she's got that ring. So it's kind of like she earned her jewelry, but ain't no Ali. She ain't gave up nothing. I don't hear nothing that Angel Reese has said that is so profound. Coco Graff and Serena Williams and Venus Williams, I give you that. And even then, that wouldn't be fair to Ali, but I'll give you that. Simone Biles, even. But this? No. Jamel is reaching. Don't get it twisted. Caitlin Clark gets way too much attention, but I don't see nothing that Angel Reese has done that I go, oh, Jackie Robinson, Jack Johnson, they come to mind. And and I'll say this, had he been consistent with what he was about and been a real factor, I would have said Charles Barkley. Because he was like the closest thing to that once upon a time, it felt like. And Kaepernick's situation could have loaned itself to that too. Could have kind of loaned itself. Abdul Rahim, kinda. But you can't really compare it. I mean, you got to talk about people that pretty much predated Ali to make that make sense. Kaepernick is kind of like almost the closest, though. Because he did get whiteballed out the NFL, and that's a fact. And Bill Russell, too. Yep. Bill Russell. Great, great one. Except he never got he never got his full flowers, though. All that mess he went through in Boston, he ain't never gotten the roses that he should have gotten. He never got he never got his totality with that. Yeah. But again, they were contemporaries of him. Jim Brown did a lot on and off the field. But I don't think it's not gonna touch what Ali did though. Ali lost 5 years of his career. And he spoke out against war. He spoke out about the genocide that happened to black people in America. So, you know. Bill Russell played during that whole thing with Boston. Jim Brown did stuff. Yeah. Well, no, but he had strong conviction. But so did Jackie Robinson, so did Jack Johnson. Athletes today got it a lot easier. But they still get hit with stuff. But I mean, but not what Ali went through. Yeah, Bill Russell was incredible. Incredible. He's a 101. Because I don't know two people could have done what he did and had to and lived to tell it too, considering how the times and what he went through, which wasn't that long ago. I think a lot of Bill Russell though. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I have family live there. That's true. They. If you remember, that was that sign in the outfield in Boston that said as racist as American as apple pie. Yeah. There's no hiding it. I mean, obviously, you look at the Celtics now, and you'd almost think they were all inclusive because they hire black coaches and players. It wasn't always the case, though. And it don't mean nothing if the underbelly is still what it is. So, Yeah, and I still take 2025. I thought 2012 was immature. I thought that the talent, you got to remember, talent is one thing, but how will you play is another. I never thought they played like a team that could win. Westbrook wasn't, his maturation wasn't set to the next, quite to that. And Durant needed someone to play off of. That's what I see. You see, we look at talent as the end all be all. And don't get it twisted, it's essential. But talent alone doesn't make you great. You got to use your noggin. And I never felt that they did that in that series. Kendrick Perkins was talking trash. D Wade climbed on him. They lost. Well, basically, Shane Battier and Mike Miller hit big shots. They got beat by just a lot of inexperience and just not being able to finish, and they missed out on just like I said, common sense logic. Yeah, maturation, maturation. Just kind of like when Durant went to Golden State and he played with Steph, his maturation was his in tune was now I just think it was maturation and having the right system and components. That's the one thing Shaq and Dunk that Shaq and Durant had in common, even though Shaq is a better player than Durant. Um, the perspective was different. Yep, they were 1959. Jordan. Let's see. So when you ask me this question, you trying to throw LeBron in there. Now, Miami was a better team than that finals. D Wade played big. Bosh came up big. They were a better team. Mike Miller, Shane Battier played big. OKC did not have the maturation at the time, and they didn't have the right leadership at the time. Westbrook and Durant didn't really complement, and that's what it showed. That one in '95 was totally different when Shaq and them lost to Houston. When they lost, okay, if you're talking about that finals, basically when Nick Anderson missed all them free throws, that changed the momentum. Shaq and Akeem basically canceled each other out, but Drexler was too much for the secondary of Orlando. The bench, it was the bench of Houston and Rudy Tom. It was a lot of factors. You got to have the right pieces when you're young and stuff. I got my timing mixed up with the people, but personnel. But that's what it was. So, they should, but it wouldn't be surprising. That's a strange series. If they don't lapse, then they win. Let me tell you something. This is the only series that Indiana can go against any team, and they're playing underdog. Not Milwaukee, not Cleveland, and not New York. This is the one series that they are really the underdog because it's the system. It's the system. It's tough to beat a team that's got you beaten every way. He better. But so is for Miles Turner. They got to find ways to have others get involved. And I think one of the problems that I see with them is that they have a tendency to they play the group game and then they hope, Halliburton come up, which he do. But if they get caught where everybody scores 15 points and they can't have no one break out, then they're gonna lose this series quickly. That's the problem they run into. This is not Milwaukee or Cleveland when somebody else or New York where your third, fourth option blows up or your bench, your seventh man blows up. He that's not his strong suit. That's not his strong suit. It's got nothing to do with the referees. They're just not on the same wavelength as the Indiana, Oklahoma. The Thunder are a better team. I just sit there and blame the refs. Ain't even Rick Carlisle's giving up for SGA. That's not the refs. It's not a good series for them because of the style. Because these teams are very evenly matched. Then you happen to have a guy who's the MVP who separates you. And unlike in other series, they're not. This is a tough series. But not like when they beat New York or they beat Cleveland and they took Donovan Mitchell out of Brunson out. You got a team that can still beat you in different ways. If the Pacers do win the game tonight, though, but again, it has to be if OKC doesn't play their best. That's the key. But if Alex Caruso comes up big, they got everything to answer Indiana with. So Halliburton's got to come up big, but they got to get the others. Sockham's got to come up big. Miles Turner got to come up big. They got to get the others involved. They really do. They can't afford to play a series where they just play half and half, because you play half and half with a team like this, you'll get blown out. And all they got to do is win one game in Indiana, and it's just the same situation. But I think it's a pretty evenly matched series and style wise. It's just the talent wise, OKC is better. That's how I look at it. If that makes any sense. Because if we go matchup for matchup, OKC got better talent. But if we go by style, okay. And when you cast to say something before, because I don't sense anybody say anything, so. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna give you a couple more minutes, because if somebody don't say nothing, I gotta go. Heck no. You already know the answer to that question. He don't deserve that. Nope. Nope, 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 nope. He's not worth it. Now look, I like the 8 Mile. I like how he play hard, but he's not a first option. He's a second, third option. I told you this before if you watch my live streams or my videos. If he had Duncan Robinson's poise with his athleticism, then he'd be a strong second option. But he's too streaky. He can be a 1 through a 3, depends on who he's playing with. The problem is it's not enough to be a championship situation. So he has to be a second. He'd be scarier as a third, but he's a second by default. And that's not saying I don't. And he's also a victim of the timing he plays. Had he played in the 90s with his styling, or the 00s with someone like Shaq or something, he'd been like he'd be like Mark Miller meets Chris Mullins. But the time he's out now, he's kind of like on par with Trae Young. And Trae done had more individual success than him. So he is kind of scattered. And he's almost dime a dozen, because a lot of guys do what he do. So I have to call it the way I see it. What's pretty high praise? What's pretty high praise? Me saying, oh, in the 90s, if you could put what he did today back to that, and he had a guy like Shaq, he would be somewhere between Mullen and Mark Miller. Well, because he can handle the rock, he can utilize his skill set. That ain't no high praise. Trey Young sucks right now. Trey Young be a token. First of all, a guy crying to get on the poor guard and get on the All Star game is not nothing no pretty high praise. He compared himself to him though. Tyler Hero actually said, "I want to be like." No, you don't, because that means that you'll settle for being a token All Star, and your team will be 20 games under 500, and you'll be riding off of what I don't know. You don't want to be Trey Young. Trey Young is a triple junior, broke junior whopper version of Steph Curry. Logo threes and a few nice dimes and 30 turnovers and firing your coaches and running away decent talent is all he's really got going for him. So I hope them strip clubs keep him nice and happy when it's time to go to Cancun. Yeah, and what does it do for his team? He's a play-in tournament. What's your point? And when last time his team got past the second round? No one is sweating him. Cade Cunningham then came along, surpassed him. Halliburton then came along, then surpassed him. Meanwhile, another coach got fired, and they traded one of their guys to Cleveland. And they've been talking about trading for the last 2, 3 years. They can't get no assets for him. So good luck with that. Now maybe he gets his butt sent to San Antonio somewhere, or he goes somewhere where he can thrive again. But all he's doing in Atlanta is just taking money. So yeah, but how long ago was that? And that was the last time Ben Simmons was seen. If you remember, Danny Gallinari over behind Ben Simmons and Ben Simmons' head, and Ben got scared and didn't want to shoot that shot. And he never was. He was on a basketball coma for like 10 years. Come on now, but that was a long time ago. Next year that marks 5 years. He ain't going to no finals, and he ain't going to no Eastern Conference Finals with no Trey Young. Please. So you know, I don't get excited about guys that are has-beens. I'm sorry. He's washed. Because, yeah, he can keep getting all-star games and having all this. How long ago was that? What does he look like now? You just gonna sit here and act like other teams ain't come along and his coach has been fired and what and they got and it's not like they don't have some talent on that team. He just sucks. He's a ball hog who stat pads. That's an insult to AI. AI got to the finals and won the game and played top tier ball and was a league MVP. Don't put Trey Young in the same sentence with AI because they don't have much of anything in common. If AI had Young's ability to assist like that, but he had a better squad in Atlanta too. But see, Trey Young is all about antics. That's all he's about. I know he was. Shoot. Should have been unanimous in '00. Should have got in '01. And he could have made a case in '02 as well. Shoot, Shaq should have about 4 or 5 league MVPs. I had my debate. Hey, look, people all talk about. I said, look, that man dominated. Okay, shoot, come on now. And penalizing him because he played with Kobe is ridiculous. Because he was the best player on those championship teams. But I'm just saying. Um, it's par for the course. And I'm gonna tell you something. A lot of people voted for that mess. I think that it's a distraction with the National Guards. I think Trump is. I want to give a shout out to Two Raw for sports. He brought up a good point. It's the Epstein. I think there's a distraction, and it's also a little chin music to Governor Newsom. He's kind of flexing on Newsom because Trump's whole agenda is payback for his loss, his L, which he lost. And but I'm gonna tell you something. Of course, you expect this to happen because it's Trump. You always got to have chaos and tension and disorder because he doesn't thrive on anything. There's no peace with him. Oh, it's been all over the news, yo. So you got to turn your news on. It's all over. Of course I do. Because then, in the first of all, America was never built as based on just homegrown. Everybody came from somewhere else. So you can't even act like that's up for discussion. And when he's got this little gold card plan where you can buy your citizenship and stuff, I could have sworn someone from El Chapo bought some citizenship. Well, if people got the money, they coming through. What's the difference? We know about cheap labor. We all know that first of all, if the people had to do the work and the labor, the country would go down the drain. That's why you have people come in and do different jobs. It's not by accident. So that's what's up. He's a combination of both. He was born with an it, but he worked hard by studying the greats, and then he made it into one, and he made it into a wholeness. But he had an it though. So if you ask me which one was more of the two, I'd say hard work because he made it. He made it into something and ran with it. Well, it's not a hot topic. Not if you know your history. It's not. It's only a hot topic for people who believe in that job they tell you is politics. It's not no hot topic. How's it a hot topic? If you know the history and you know that people came from other places, you know good and well ain't no hot topic. Boys ain't no hot topic either because it should be about a woman's choice. I'd choose the Killian B when she was. I seen her as a grown up. I see her at the Usher show. I mean, to me, a cute actress looking for something. I like what she said about she don't ever pay her money, but well, the problem with America is that people are not really feeling a lot of what they're putting out because they regurgitate the certain people politics, and it's a joke. You know, you keep electing the more grandpappies, and you don't really seem progressive, and you trying to push technology and agenda, but you keep bringing the same old rhetoric. That's not a good look. So it's not a good look. But anyway, that's what I think about Kiki Palmer, though. You know, cute act though, back on the day. But so see what time it is. Okay, I probably got about 15 more minutes before I'm gonna roll. Cause I want to get me a nice stroll in tonight. It's nice weather. I think if you understand politics, you know, uh, I'd say the old 60 Wayne Wade one was mind blowing. If you must know, that was mind blowing. Um, cause he looked like he was on another level. I mean, forget the files. He was just like wow. Uh, It's hard to say though. That's one of them. Jordan 93. Yeah, all the ones you mentioned, but don't forget D Wade '06. D Wade belongs in that conversation. I think the Steph Curry 18 is kind of underappreciated because he almost averaged triple double. And I still remember that one on one with him and LeBron, and when he did that left hand scoop. Yeah, the game seven mainly with Giannis. The game seven. That was the one. Game six. That was the one. He went for 50. That's why I thought he was going to turn the corner and go another level because he was unstoppable that night. He looked great. So, those are a few. Excuse me. Those are a few. Ronnie Lott. Because he changed. He scared teams, and he did it in an era where I mean, that's not a hot take. How's it a hot take? I like Ed Reed a whole lot. Ed Reed was bad. He was probably smart. I'll say the smart instincts was there, but Ronnie Lott could hit your hit. Plus, when the guy played without his pinky, how they treat others. I don't like it when I got my answers ready without even having to think long. Yeah, that's how you treat other people. Especially if you're being good natured and you're being honest. And I'm gonna tell you something about that. If you're doing it where you're an honest, you just tell it like this is how I feel and you're honest about it. That to me is the best value. People that be lying and sugarcoating, they'll never be honest with you. So no, none of that seems to make no difference. Because first of all, again, status is what? Career is not that long term. It's about making money. Education is a class issue, something that you choose to challenge yourself with. That's the and those don't equate to the same. But to me, it's how you treat people. That's my status, the value. People look at money because that's how they look at it. You don't you if you're a good hustler, you don't have to. That's how you make money. Your career education is, but I look at it like my is how you treat people. Education doesn't equate to money. It can be a career that you choose to path. It doesn't mean that you're going to make a lot of money. Hmm. And no one really gives him his due. No one gives him his due. He doesn't have a Scottie Pippen or Dwayne Wade on his team either. So that again, look at how he's doing it. No, he's just a guy who's tapped in. He keeps getting better and better. I don't think people see how great this guy he's been doing it since he's been with OKC. He's just been consistent. It's not just like it just happened overnight. He was a runoff MVP last year. He's been consistent. And there's always that one guy that no one seems to see. I didn't say he was better than Kobe. Where did I say that? So don't put words in my mouth. He got a long way to go before he beat. I said he got a chance to be an all time great. All time great means you top 25, top 30. I ain't saying about him being better than Kobe. Okay, yeah. You just said, yeah, yeah, you said it, yeah. No, he'd have to have at least 2 or 3 more rings. I didn't say that either because Kobe had made himself into all systems go. But I'll say this though. Let Shea win 2 more rings, another finals MVP, and another regular season. Oh yeah. Well that's why Kobe ain't on Shaq's level for me. Because all the Jordan impersonations you can do, you still play with that big 300 pound 7 footer. So that it to me is almost mute. But SGA is a great talent though, and I'm definitely giving him his. I'm definitely saying he wins everything this year, top 25, top 30 easily, and then we'll see how everything goes from there. So he didn't win no. He wasn't in. He's not in SGA's class though. If we go by regular season, Harden, but we go totality, SGA. See, you got to put in totality. When I talk about peak Harden, I can almost put in with almost anybody. But when I talk about postseason onward, he's off. You go on a bus ride and you got 5 blocks to go, and then you got to get off on the fourth block. There's still 3 or 4 blocks you ain't gonna make. That's what James Harden is. So it's irrelevant. SGA didn't surpass what he done because if he wins it all this year, no one's gonna want to hear that kind of conversation. Harden's gonna get the 30,000 career points, and he's got league MVP. But what else does he have that matches what SGA's got? Plus, SGA is a better defender too. So, I mean, and SG and Harden played with Durant, with Kyrie, with Kawhi. You hear what I'm saying? So, with a Dwight Howard. Come on now. Don't do that. Because if I gotta roll it off the top of the head, which I just had to do to tell you why there's no comparison, there ain't. He didn't get it done. And he had an offensive game that was no joke, but he didn't get it done. He ain't on this cat's level. We look at totality. We don't look at halfness. If I go by halfness, then I'll say James Harden would be like the Peyton Manning of basketball players almost if I'm going by a certain spot, but it didn't manifest like it should have. Okay. Okay, I got a few more minutes before I'm gonna call it a day. We ain't gonna be sitting up here talking about James Harden, no. Okay. So that's why we can't do that. And I don't know, like when you talk basketball with other people, but I can't do that because if I look at totality, and he's not in the same conversation with SGA. He should be. He should be in a conversation with a lot of people, but he won't be because he has his shortcomings and he never corrected them. Okay, I think I will about give it a couple more minutes. You want to say he belongs in the conversation, but then Bowen did so much that was so subtle, but not so subtle. It's kind of hard to say. I mean, the only reason why you can get away with saying this because he left Milwaukee and went to Boston and got 2 chips. But I don't know if you really believe he was better than Bruce Bowen, though. Money. And plus, they're not meeting people to get in relationships with. And it's cheaper to be at home and pay rent than it is to go out here and have to pay a apartment or a mortgage or something. And also, relationships is janky because I mean, apps, dating app, people like that. They don't. Again, people aren't in a quick hurry to play house. So if you don't have to spend no extra money to do something that you don't have to, it's a different day. Mm-mm, mm-mm. They pay rent and then they can kind of, you know, be respectful. No, I mean, it costs a lot of money to live, and then if you're not with the compatible with someone, why would you put yourself in a situation where if you can stay, you stay? I just think that it's tough out here. Oh, I know I got a point because I tell you like this. Well, not really. Not when I mention about when I mention Giannis and Jokic. Because SGA, if he wins another league MVP after this year and he wins another ring, no. That's what I'm saying. And if you don't have to break your neck and you're not cutting that money, and then you home alone, you don't really have to do much socialing, you know. So no. And I'm not gonna knock nobody as long as they're paying, they staying at home or they got something like that. Hey, it's not cut out to be everything out here no way. So for some. I think SGA makes a state case because I think he's in the same conversation with Giannis and Jokic if he wins. And then what? We each got one ring, each a league MVP, each a finals MVP. So what's your argument there? And he's a scoring champion. And he's doing it in a unique way. So he's the one that they don't want to give the love to. They give Giannis and Jokic the love. They don't want to give SGA the love. Boom. When I say all time great, I'm talking about top 25, top 30. I didn't say top 10. I didn't say top 15. I said 25 to 30. I think you can go up to about 30. You know, he got a strong case because when you look at his resume, it's hard to not see this guy high. Okay. Think I'll cut it off now. I will come back tomorrow and I'll be on a little bit early tomorrow. We can talk about the game tonight and other topics, of course, as usual. Earlier. Expect me on a little bit early. Now, not all time. Ant-Man ain't won nothing. You see, when I mentioned SGA, he's been a league MVP, Western Conference Finals MVP, scoring champion, and if they win the ring, he'll be the Finals MVP. Ant-Man hasn't accomplished anything, so no. But as far as in today's game, he's top 12 playing. He's top 10 to, like far as today. I'm talking about all time. There's a big difference. Ant-Man got to win something. But he ain't gonna get past SGA. Because Giannis and Jokic are considered somewhere between the 15 to 22nd best already. So so I never said anything about it. I said you winning. Notice I said if he wins. I said wins. I didn't say anything about he's not in decline. He doesn't have the right system. He needs the right coach and he needs the right system. How's he in decline when the guy averaged 30 plus points, 10 boards? He doesn't have the right parts. Damian Lillard was not the right answer, and Doc Rivers not the right answer at head coach. He just needs the right parts. How's he in decline? I don't see him falling off as a scorer. I don't see him falling off with his rebounds. I think that what hurts him though is not having that balance as a team. I think that's what's obvious. But I don't look at him as no decline. Because his numbers are still there. It's just that that team sucks though. And you get stuck with Kyle Kuzma, and you just gone from one bad extreme to another. And then you stuck with Doc Rivers. And of course, Damian, even if Damian Lillard is playing healthy, Damian ain't going to save you. So they just don't have the pieces around him. That's all that is. All right, I'm going to get it rolling now. But anyway, appreciate everyone that came through. Stay safe, stay blessed, stay whole. Look for me tomorrow. Appreciate everybody. It was some great conversations, great topics. And we're looking forward to another day tomorrow. Peace, and I'm out. Thank you.